How were the Levites provided for by God? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Numbers on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, turn to Numbers chapter 18. We're going to be reading from verses 21 to 24. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Numbers chapter 18, beginning of verse 21. Behold, I have given the children of Levi all the tithes in Israel as inheritance in return for the work which they perform, the work of the tabernacle of meeting. Hereafter the children of Israel shall not come near the tabernacle of meeting, lest they bear sin and die. But the Levites shall perform the work of the tabernacle of meeting, and they shall bear their iniquity. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that among the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance. For the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer up as a heave offering to the Lord, I have given to the Levites as an inheritance. Therefore I have said to them, among the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance. In this chapter, we've been largely dealing with how the priests and Levites were cared for by God due to the fact that they were not going to be given an inheritance in the land of Canaan. Rather, they were going to work in the tabernacle. For the priests, God gave them a portion of the offerings that were made by fire to the Lord, with a few exceptions. Some of these portions could only be eaten by the priests on the tabernacle grounds, while other portions could be taken home and shared with anyone who was ceremonially clean in their house. The priests also had use of the redemption money that was paid for the redemption of the firstborn son among the children of Israel. This would have allowed them to purchase some of the other things that they needed. God was generous in what he provided, but let's make no mistake, the priests during the Old Testament age never really got rich out of what God provided, but their needs were provided for. The rest of the Levites, though, were not priests. They did not get to partake in the eating of some of the sacrificial meat, nor do we read of them having part of the redemption money. Yet God was going to provide for them too because of their service. How would he do this? The Levites who were not priests would be provided for through the tithes that the people offered. Back in our study of Leviticus, we discussed tithes, where in Leviticus 27, verses 30 to 33, we read, And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the trees, is the Lord's. It is holy to the Lord. If a man wants at all to redeem any of his tithes, he shall add 1/5 to it. And concerning the tithe of the herd of the flock, or of whatever passes under the rod, the 10th one shall be holy to the Lord. He shall not inquire whether it is good or bad, nor shall he exchange it. And if he exchanges it at all, then both it and the one exchanged for it shall be holy. It shall not be redeemed. We often think of tithes as money, because in this day and age, money is practically our sole currency. We don't go to the store and barter with what we've produced in order to gain something else. However, when I looked up the word tithe in Scripture, money is never what is talked about. Sure, money existed, but everywhere I looked up, grain, fruit, and animals were what was mentioned. The reason for this, I believe, is what the tithe was used for. First and foremost, the tithe, the 10th of the fruit of the land, or the animals, was a holy offering to the Lord. It was thus given in thankfulness for what the Lord had provided. As something that was holy to the Lord, it was going to be used for a holy purpose, for the provision of the Levites. Remember again, the Levites would have no inheritance of land, no land to own and grow crops, or no inheritance to pass on to their sons. Inheritance at that time is how a family kept from becoming impoverished, so lacking a physical inheritance could mean the loss of your home and a lack of food. So the tithe of food provided the Levites with the sustenance that they needed. But what about those other needs, you might ask? The priests got use of the redemption money, which could be used in order to supply their other needs. It doesn't seem like the Levites were provided for this way. Well, we'll see later on in Numbers 35 that they would have places to live, so God provided them dwellings. But unlike the priests who received the meat offered on the altar, in other words, the finished product, the Levites received food and animals, both of which could be used in other ways other than food. The Levites were taken care of by God. They weren't impoverished because they worked in the tabernacle. In fact, God appreciated their service by providing for their needs. Israel was a large enough nation that their tithe would be more than enough to provide for the much smaller tribe of Levi. God's provisions for the Levites shows us the principle that Paul taught in 1 Timothy 5 verse 18, that a laborer is worthy of his wages. The Levites' work was a spiritual work for the tabernacle. Therefore, they had the right to receive of the offerings that were offered in the worship to God, which was a spiritual offering. When it comes to people who minister to us spiritually today, we mustn't think that because they minister, they don't deserve to be paid. Being paid is certainly not the goal of ministry, but that doesn't mean that the one who ministers doesn't deserve to be paid by those to whom they minister. God provided for the priests and Levites because of their ministry for the people in the tabernacle. Even though we don't have a physical tabernacle today, we should have the same attitude towards those who minister to us today. However, even though the Levites received tithes, that doesn't mean that they didn't have to tithe themselves. We'll deal with this, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Numbers chapter 18, verses 25 to 32, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.